Nearly 2 years of speculation, concern, and a whole lot of waiting have led to this moment. Cedar Point's Top Thrill Dragster is officially being reworked into the new creation known as Top Thrill 2. When it comes to coaster sequels, because yes, there are several of those, they're pretty hit and miss. Some were known to be terrible, and others are even better than the original. It's only been a few days, but already Top Thrill 2 has managed to split coaster enthusiasts right down the middle, but there are reasons to be genuinely excited about this. The original Dragster had a loyal following because of its intense hydraulic launch and of course due to it being one of only 2 Stratocoasters ever built, or 3, depends who you ask. But Cedar Fair had been pouring money into this thing due to the high maintenance costs, and the final straw was the tragic incident in August 2021 where a park guest was struck by a metal plate that dislodged from the train. The coaster would not operate for the following 2 seasons, but now it's back, and it's being renovated by Zamperla of all companies. Let me ask, what do you think of when you hear the name Zamperla? Kiddie coasters? A whole bunch of different flat rides? Downtime? Actually, that just reopened, so maybe I shouldn't make that joke. My point is, they're known more for their flat rides and family rides than their roller coasters, so the decision to go with Zamperla to lead the Top Thrill 2 project was a puzzling one to say the least. But as you'll come to find out, the company has been making some pretty significant strides in the industry, so maybe this will be a good call in the end. Before I get too ahead of myself, let's take a look at how the layout is changing. For all its intensity, Top Thrill Dragster had a remarkably simple layout. You launched, you went up and over the top hat, you came back down and hit the brakes. Top Thrill 2 reuses much of the existing layout, but it makes a pretty significant addition. A giant 420-foot tall spike, matching the height of the original top hat, is now being constructed on the opposite end of the coaster. With this addition, the ride experience is becoming one with 3 launches instead of 1. With the use of a switch track, the train travels from the station onto the launch track. No longer a hydraulic launch, Top Thrill 2 instead uses linear synchronous motors, or LSMs, to achieve its speed. The first launch gets you about halfway up the tower, reaching 74 miles per hour, before the train rolls back, an experience many used to hope for on the original Dragster. Now the park seems to be proudly advertising that there will be a rollback every time. After this, we get the second launch, a backwards catapult to 101 miles per hour straight up the new 420-foot tall vertical tower. For the finale, Top Thrill 2 plunges back to the ground and into the third and final launch, and from here it's pretty much the original experience. At 120 miles per hour, the train heads up the top hat, crests the top, and spirals back to the ground before hitting the brakes. That's going to be your whole experience on Top Thrill 2, and in some ways this does look superior to the original. One of my biggest criticisms with Top Thrill Dragster is how short the actual ride experience was. Don't get me wrong, that launch was breathtaking, but the actual ride only lasted around 28 seconds, so I hardly ever rode it since I didn't feel like the wait was worth it. This new layout fixes that issue. With the 3 launches and extra track, it will feel like a more complete experience overall. The backward spike is what I'm most excited for. I'm just imagining the amount of hang time you'll get at the very top, and at that height, just imagine how surreal it will feel looking down on Power Tower and Millennium Force. Rides that tower over the Cedar Point skyline will suddenly be below you on Top Thrill 2, and I can't wait to see that for myself. The location of the spike just blows my mind. I can't believe they're fitting this thing right above Iron Dragon's track on the water. It'll no doubt change the Cedar Point skyline when you're driving down the causeway. This will be the first coaster to use Zamperla's new Lightning trains, which were first shown off at IAAPA last year. The restraints will still be lap bars only, thank goodness, and the front of the trains resemble Formula 1 cars, which I appreciate, but nothing will compare to the over-the-top dragster trains from 2003, complete with the wheels and spoiler in the back row. From what I've heard, the Lightning trains are actually really comfortable, and they sport a weld-free design, which means there's less chance of any parts coming loose. That's going to be a good thing because it looks like they're keeping the queue in the same place as before, running along the infield. Hopefully the park at least adds some type of shielding along here just as a precaution. I'm interested to try out these new trains, but going with Zamperla as the manufacturer has caused a lot of uproar in the coaster community. A lot of people are upset that Cedar Point didn't choose to work with Dragster's original manufacturer, Intamin, but I was never expecting that to be a possibility. Cedar Fair haven't worked with Intamin in years, and many of the Intamin rides at Cedar Fair parks require a ton of upkeep and investment to keep going. Choosing a company primarily known for their family coasters and flat rides is an intriguing call to say the least, and many have already written Top Thrill 2 off as inferior to the original, claiming that it will have huge amounts of downtime. I do have my own concerns about the amount of downtime this coaster will have, but I'm more interested to see how the project turns out. In recent years, Zamperla have been attempting to reinvent their coaster division and innovate in the industry, and I say let them try it. This is Zamperla's chance to prove themselves, and if this project is successful, this could easily be the start of a turning point in the amusement industry, where parks will buy more of the company's newer offerings. We could potentially see Zamperla being heralded as a major coaster manufacturer, standing alongside B&M, Gerstlauer, Intamin, and more. It all hinges on this, which is why I'm so excited for it, but we won't know for sure until next year. I just hope I get the chance to ride it because you know that line is going to be insane. On a smaller note, it looks like there will also be a small redesign of the entrance area for the coaster. You'll still pass through the tunnel under the launch track, but there will also be an entrance archway further up front. And before anyone gets concerned, Cedar Point's website does confirm that the grandstands are returning as well, so guests can sit and watch the launch as long as they like. One last thing to discuss here is the name, Top Thrill 2. I honestly can't say I'm much of a fan of it, as it just comes off as uncreative, but a name is such a small thing when it comes to a coaster. I'd rather have a lame name with an excellent ride experience than the other way around. One good thing, it definitely gets the point across fast to those who were familiar with the original dragster. I know a lot of people are upset that the park didn't decide to go taller with the spike and break the tallest coaster record, but they already had the top hat in place, so it's not realistic to expect them to extend it. This was the most down-to-earth option as far as the layout goes, which is funny since you're launching away from Earth, but I digress. I personally would have liked to see an airtime hill at the end like King Dakar, but oh well, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. We're finally going to have another coaster that's a Frankenstein of two manufacturers. I guess the closest thing to this would be Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City, since that's also a fusion of two types of track, but for me I have to bring up Phantom's Revenge. Arrow and Morgan track come together here, and Intamin and Zamperla track meet up here. Give it time, and let's see how this project unfolds. I know a lot of you are skeptical, and I kind of am as well, but let's watch the construction and see what Zamperla can do. It'll be next year before you know it, and I can finally ride my most anticipated coaster of 2024. Good gravy! Alright, not really, but this does look adorable. I love everything about it. Look at the cranberry sauce jar. Anyway, that's enough for now about Top Thrill 2. This coaster is quite the divisive topic right now, so please let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you here next time for some more high lateral G's on Rampaging Rex Productions.